At the far edge of the Galactic Academy, a cold silver building floated in silent orbit. Inside its long halls, young cadets trained to face what the Council called death worlds. These were planets said to be too wild, too cruel, and too broken for order. Among all of them, Earth was spoken of in low voices, like a curse that never faded. No one joked about Earth. No one bragged about going there. The records said many had tried, and every single one had failed. Some returned broken in body and mind. Most never returned at all. The cadets sat in a wide classroom with curved glass walls that looked out into a calm star field. Instructor Hale moved slowly between rows, his voice calm but sharp. He spoke of survival numbers, loss rates, and risk patterns. When he said the word Earth, a heavy silence fell. Earth is proof that nature can defeat logic, he said. No one survives on Earth. Most cadets lowered their eyes. Some shifted in their seats. Fear moved through the room like cold air. They had heard this lesson many times before. It always ended the same way. But this time was different. In the middle row sat Lena Brooks. She was not loud. She was not popular. She kept to herself and spent most of her time in the simulation chambers. She studied patterns, reactions, and stress records instead of gossip. Her uniform was clean, her posture calm, and her eyes steady. When Instructor Hale paused and asked if there were any questions, no one spoke. This was normal. Silence meant safety. Lena slowly raised her hand. All eyes turned to her. Even the air felt tense. "Yes, Cadet Brooks?" Hale asked, his tone flat but curious. She stood, her voice soft but clear. She did not rush her words. "Earth is not impossible," she said. "It is misunderstood. The problem is not that it is too hard. The problem is that the training makes it too easy." A ripple of disbelief moved through the room. Some cadets gasped. Others almost laughed. Morgan leaned toward Grant and whispered, "Did she just say Earth is easy?" Shook her head, wide-eyed. She must be trying to get herself expelled. Instructor Hale's eyes narrowed. "Explain your claim, Cadet," he said. Lena did not look away. "Our training systems make every choice for us. They tell us when to move, when to stop, and when to breathe. Earth does not follow our systems. It changes without warning. Those who failed trusted rules that did not belong there." The room stayed silent. No one interrupted her. "Earth does not kill because it is cruel," she added. "Earth punishes those who do not think." For a moment, no one spoke. Then a few quiet laughs broke the tension. Someone muttered that she had watched too many human history logs. Hale raised a hand. The laughter stopped. "Your confidence is noted, Cadet Brooks," he said. "You may sit." She obeyed, but the eyes on her did not fade. Some showed doubt, some showed fear, a few showed curiosity. After the session ended, students poured into the main corridor, talking in low voices. Lena walked alone, her steps measured. She knew her words would not be forgotten. And caught up to her. "Do you really believe that?" asked. "That Earth is not deadly?" Lena glanced at him. "I believe the reports hide the full truth." Frowned. "People died there." "People died because they stopped thinking," Lena replied, "and because they were taught not to trust their own senses." Did not answer. He just looked away, unsure. Later that evening, Lena entered one of the silent data rooms. Long rows of memory panels glowed faint blue. She searched through archived logs of past missions. Names flashed across the screen, each ending with the same status: failed or lost. She read personal notes left by past cadets. They spoke of confusion, system failure, and panic. They spoke of storms that did not match reports and terrain that did not exist on maps. Again and again, a common line appeared. "We followed the protocol." Lena leaned back and closed her eyes. The pattern was clear to her. Protocol was the problem. In another part of the academy, Instructor Hale reviewed her file. Her performance scores were high. Her simulation survival rate was nearly perfect. but her attitude worried him. He marked her record with a yellow code, special observation. Back in the sleeping quarters, Price watched Lena from across the room. "She is either brave," she said softly to Tyler, "or dangerously wrong." Tyler shrugged. "Either way, Command will make an example of her." That night, while others slept, Lena returned to the training deck. She activated a private simulation of Earth terrain, stripped of Academy safety filters. Wind roared. Uneven ground shifted. Rain blurred her vision. Still, she moved with calm control. She did not ask the system what to do. She chose. She tracked the flow of water, the bend of the grass, and the angle of each slope. When the ground collapsed under her, she adapted. When the rain blinded her, she slowed. When the temperature dropped, she found cover. And she survived. Far above, the stars watched as the seed of doubt took root within the Academy. A single cadet had spoken against fear, and that voice refused to fade. The next morning, her name appeared on the assignment board. A small crowd gathered. Lena Brooks' special evaluation briefing. Whispers echoed down the hall, some filled with shock, some with quiet respect, and some with worry. Lena read the notice without emotion. She knew this moment would come. She turned and walked toward the command wing, where decisions were made and risks became orders. Behind her, the Academy buzzed with uneasy energy, and somewhere within its cold metal heart, the idea formed that perhaps Earth was not the monster they feared. Perhaps it was only a test they had never learned how to face. The door to the briefing chamber slid open with a low hiss. Inside, a wide circular table waited, surrounded by hollow seats. A soft white light filled the space, clean and sharp. High on the curved wall, the council seal glowed with calm authority. Instructor Hale stood at the far end, joined by two observers, Daniel Price and Turner. Their expressions were unreadable. Lena stepped forward and stood still, hands resting at her sides. She did not bow, but her posture showed respect. "Cadet Brooks," Hale began, "you have made a public claim that challenges our official doctrine. Such a claim can inspire chaos or insight. How do you explain your certainty?" Lena spoke in the same calm tone she always used. "I do not claim certainty. I claim logic. Repeated failure shows a broken method. Earth demands choice, not command." Turned her head slightly. "And you believe you can succeed where others failed?" Lena nodded once. "I believe I can learn where they were not allowed to." Silence stretched between them. Daniel tapped a finger on the table. "What makes you different, Cadet?" Lena thought for a moment. "I do not wait for permission to survive." Hale studied her. There was no pride in her voice, no fire, only calm truth. A small pause followed. Then Hale spoke again. "Your theory will be tested. If you fail, you join the same list as the others." "I understand," she replied. Outside the chamber, rumors spread fast. Cadets gathered in small clusters along the hallways, speaking in hushed tones. "They might actually send her," someone whispered. "No one comes back from Earth," another answered. "Maybe she will," a faint voice added. Back in her quarters, Lena prepared quietly. She checked her gear, her basic supplies, and her simple navigation unit. She did not rely on advanced guidance chips. Instead, she adjusted her manual sensors, tools, and environmental reader. She paused at the small window and looked out into space. The stars did not seem distant. They felt like calm witnesses to her choice. She did not fear Earth. She feared the lies surrounding it. A message appeared on her personal console. "Prepare for observational clearance. Final note is pending." She exhaled slowly and closed her eyes. This was only the beginning, but the path was already forming beneath her feet. And somewhere far away, a blue planet waited, silent, patient, and ready to prove its truth. Still within the Academy walls, most cadets whispered the same thought. No one survives on Earth. But Lena Brooks simply watched the stars and believed something different. The transfer order arrived sooner than anyone expected. Lena was called before sunrise. The halls were quiet as she walked toward the launch sector where only advanced missions were handled. Cold white lights followed her path, and her steps echoed against metal floors. Outside the launch bay, a small group of cadets had gathered. Their faces showed a mix of worry and disbelief. Stood with his arms crossed, tried not to look afraid. Tyler and watched in silence. "So it is real," said. "They are sending you." Lena nodded once, only for observation. "They still think I will fail." "Everyone does," whispered, "even command." Lena gave a faint smile. "Then I will give them something else to think about." She stepped forward as the bay doors opened. Inside waited a small scouting vessel, simple and dark, shaped for silent travel. It was not designed for comfort. It was designed for risk. Instructor Hale stood beside the boarding ramp. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "You will not receive real-time guidance," he reminded her. "We will observe but not assist. The goal is to see how long you endure." "I am not here to endure," Lena replied. "I am here to understand." Hale said nothing more. She walked up the ramp and into the vessel. The door sealed behind her with a low hiss. Inside, the space was narrow and quiet. Soft panels glowed as systems came alive. Her seat adjusted to her form. The console lit with basic controls. No voices followed. No comfort signals appeared. She was alone. Within minutes, the ship detached from the academy and slipped into open space. The stars stretched and blurred as the drive engaged. Earth waited far beyond the mapped comfort zones, a small unknown point among billions of lights. Lena watched the blue dot slowly grow. It was peaceful from a distance. Curves of ocean and cloud turned slowly in silence. There was no sign of the horror they spoke about, only quiet beauty. She entered the outer layer of atmosphere hours later. Turbulence shook the vessel. Wind pressure dragged along the hull. Temperature levels shifted fast. She steadied her hands and adjusted manually. The ship broke through cloud cover and began its slow descent. Below her lay vast land, green fields, dark forests, silver rivers, and broken human cities lost to time. The surface did not look kind, but it did not look cruel either. It simply existed. She guided the ship down toward a remote valley chosen for maximum danger levels. The ground rose to meet her. Then, with a sharp jolt, the landing legs hit soil. The ship settled. Silence returned. For several seconds, Lena did not move. She closed her eyes and listened to the faint vibrations of the planet. Every world had its own sound. Earth was slow, steady, and alive. She unfastened her harness and stood. The inner hatch opened. Fresh air rushed inside, thick with unfamiliar scent. Warm, damp, and sharp with living matter. Lena stepped down onto the ground. It was real Earth, and she was standing on it. Her boots pressed into soft soil. Tiny plants bent and then slowly rose back. A light breeze touched her face. Above, the sky stretched wide and endless, painted in pale blue. She had been trained to expect instant danger. Instead, she found quiet. She activated her environmental reader. Numbers shifted but remained stable. Oxygen levels were safe. Pressure normal. Life signals surrounded her in great number, but none felt hostile. Far away, a bird lifted into the air and vanished behind trees. Lena took a slow breath and began to walk. Each step carried her further from the ship. The valley opened around her, filled with tall grasses and scattered rock. The sun warmed her suit. Shadows moved gently with the wind. She tested the ground with cautious weight. When the earth sank, she adjusted. When stones rolled, she adapted. Her movements were careful but natural. She was not fighting the planet. She was learning it. Hours passed. The sky shifted colors. Her body responded to the new gravity in subtle ways. Muscles tightened then relaxed. Balance changed. She adapted again. On the fourth hour, rain began to fall. It was light at first, fine drops that darkened the soil. Then it grew heavy. Clouds rolled over the valley and swallowed the sun. The temperature dropped. Visibility narrowed. Lena did not panic. She pulled her hood forward and sought cover beneath a slanted rock shelf. Water dripped around her. The sound of rain filled the air like distant drums. She watched how the water flowed across the land, how it carved small paths, how it gathered then vanished beneath the ground. She learned. Back at the academy, a small group watched her feed on silent screens. Sensor data was limited, visual only. Her heat map glowed against the planet's surface. "She has not collapsed yet," observed. "Give it time," Tyler muttered. "Earth always wins." Instructor Hale said nothing. His eyes remained on the display. The rain eased after 2 hours. The world slowly brightened. Water clung to leaves and stone. The air felt clean and cool. Lena stepped out and continued forward. She reached a shallow stream and crouched beside it. Clear water flowed over smooth stones. She extended a glove and tested its temperature. Cool, not freezing. She filled a small container and watched tiny movements beneath the surface. Life was everywhere, not aggressive, not violent, just existing. Her training never showed this. As night approached, the air cooled again. Darkness crept across the valley. She had no mapped shelter, no assigned rest zone. Instead, she studied the terrain and chose a narrow space between 2 thick root systems. She gathered dry plant matter and small branches. Carefully, she formed a low barrier. She did not rely on the auto-shelter unit. She built with reason and instinct. When it was finished, she settled inside and wrapped her thermal sheet around her form. Above her, the stars appeared brighter than any she had seen from orbit. The planet breathed softly beneath her. She slept lightly, alert but calm. Just before dawn, a sound stirred her. Soft steps against soil. She opened her eyes and remained still. Through the narrow gap, 2 glowing orbs watched her. An animal, small and cautious, stood nearby. It did not attack. It simply observed and then moved away. Lena exhaled. She rose with the new light and left her shelter behind. Careful not to damage the ground more than needed, she continued her slow exploration. She began documenting mineral formations, plant reactions, and wind shifts. Every detail told her more about the world they refused to understand. In the distance, she spotted the remains of a previous landing pod, rusted and broken, half swallowed by vines. She walked toward it. The closer she came, the clearer the truth became. Scratch marks covered the metal. Impact dents scattered the frame. The door hung open. Inside, the floor was coated with dry earth and decay. She knelt beside it and studied the wreck. This was where someone failed. She searched the interior and found fragments of survival gear, cracked screens, and a torn fabric patch bearing the symbol of the academy. She felt no fear, only sorrow. Near the wreck rested a data core, half buried. She brushed away the dirt and activated it using her own console. A weak signal responded. Broken audio logs played. Voices filled with panic, shouts for help, desperate calls to follow protocol, repeated commands from a dead system telling them to wait, to remain still, to trust instructions. And then silence. Lena lowered the device and closed her eyes. Earth did not kill them. Obedience did. She stood and looked across the valley. The wind brushed her face. The clouds moved above. Life continued its slow rhythm. She turned her back on the wreck and walked onward, carrying the weight of the truth with her. Far above, unseen eyes watched. Data streams whispered across cold screens. And for the first time, uncertainty settled within those who had always claimed control. Lena Brooks was still alive, and Earth had only begun to tell her its story. The second night on Earth was colder than the first. The air pressed close and damp, and the wind carried strange sounds through the valley. Lena did not let them shake her focus. She wrapped her thermal layer and watched the slow rise of the moon above the dark hills. She had moved deeper into the land that day, far from where her ship rested. Her path had taken her through thick grass, over uneven stone, and into narrow tree lines where shadows held a quiet weight. Each step taught her more about the planet's balance. She learned which ground was safe and which ground shifted. She learned how the air changed before the rain. Everything spoke if one listened. At the academy, the observation chamber remained active through the night cycle. Hale sat in silence. Daniel stood behind him, studying the faint glow that marked Lena's position on the map. "She has moved outside the assigned range," said. "She was not given a path," Hale replied. "She is making one." Daniel crossed his arms. "No one has ever lasted this long without panic." Hale did not answer, he only watched. Back on Earth, the morning light touched the valley in soft gold. Lena rose slowly and stretched her stiff muscles. The gravity still felt strange, but her body had learned to respond. She gathered her simple belongings and scanned the area. Nothing disturbed her shelter. The animals kept their distance. The world remained steady. She walked forward again, following the slope of the land. After several hours, the terrain changed. Soft ground grew harder. Rock replaced soil. The air became dry. She reached the edge of a wide open plain. Beyond it stood the remains of a human structure, broken walls, rusted frames, silent reminders that a past life once lived here. Lena approached with care. The building leaned to one side, its windows shattered, its doorway open. Vines crept across the stone like slow fingers trying to claim it back. Inside, dust floated in thin lines of light. The echoes of her steps filled the hollow space. Floor tiles cracked beneath her boots. She moved through the rooms, careful and quiet. Old furniture lay overturned. Metal tools rested where hands last dropped them. Faded images hung on walls, showing human figures frozen in smiles and motion. This place had once been safe. She paused by a long desk and reached out, brushing a layer of dust aside. Underneath was smooth human carving, worn by touch and time. A strange feeling settled in her chest. Not fear, not pity, a quiet respect. Suddenly, a sharp sound echoed behind her, a low growl. Lena turned slowly. At the broken doorway stood a large animal, its body tense, its eyes alert. Its stance showed caution, not rage. It watched her closely, unsure of this new presence in its territory. Lena did not move. She lowered her head slightly and stepped back, giving the creature space. Her hands remained open, her posture calm. The animal studied her for long seconds. Then, with a slow breath, it turned and disappeared into the tall grass outside. She released the breath she had been holding. Earth tested, but it did not seek blood. It only demanded awareness. Outside, clouds began to gather again. The wind shifted. The smell of rain returned to the air. Lena left the structure and followed the edge of the plain, seeking natural cover. The first drops fell, cold against her suit. Again the rain grew stronger, fast and heavy, pouring down without mercy. She found shelter beneath a cluster of rock and crouched low as the storm raged around her. Water chased down the slopes, turning pathways into streams. Thunder rolled overhead, deep and powerful. Her heart beat steady. She did not fight the storm, she waded through it. When it passed, the world breathed again. She stepped out as sunlight broke through torn clouds. The ground steamed softly. Drops of water clung to every surface, shining like glass. Ahead, near the base of a hill, she spotted another landing pod. This one more damaged than the last. The metal frame had collapsed inward. Part of it rested against stone. She approached with steady steps. Inside the broken pod lay a skeleton of metal and torn fabric. She carefully moved pieces aside, searching for any remaining data. She found a second damaged core, flickering weakly. When she activated it, fragmented images played across her display. She saw blurred movement, panicked faces, hands shaking, desperate cries for system guidance. And then a single voice, calm but trembling. "We should think for ourselves, the ground. It is not our enemy." Static filled the screen, then nothing. Lena closed her eyes. Someone had almost understood. She removed the core and secured it, turning away from the wreck. The hill before her rose tall and steep. Natural stone jutted out in uneven forms. She began to climb. Rock pressed against her gloves. Muscles burned as the slope grew sharper. Loose gravel shifted beneath her weight. She adapted, finding stronger holds, moving with careful patience. Halfway up, her foot slipped. Her body jolted. Gravel fell past her in small waves. Her heart surged, but her hands held firm. She breathed and continued upward. Finally, she reached the top. The view stole the air from her lungs. Beyond the ridge stretched a vast landscape, more open and wild than anything she had seen before. Forests rolled like green oceans. Rivers cut silver paths through the earth. The horizon stretched endless and free. For the first time since her arrival, she smiled. Earth was not a prison. It was a living world. She stood in silence for a long moment, then turned her gaze back toward the Academy ship, far in the distance, barely visible. On distant screens, those watching saw her pause, her outline against the sky framed by light. "What is she doing?" asked softly. Hale spoke without emotion. "She is listening." Lena lowered herself and sat upon the stone. She removed part of her helmet to feel air directly against her skin. The breeze brushed her face, cool and fresh. The scent of damp land filled her senses. No toxins, no threat, only life. She replaced the helmet slowly and stood again. The Academy did not understand what it feared, but she was beginning to understand what it had lost. As the day faded, she made her way down the opposite side of the hill, heading into deeper unknown space. Her steps left soft marks behind her, but the land remained unbroken. She found a place near a small cluster of trees and created another shelter. This time, faster, easier. Her hands knew the rhythm now. As night returned, the sky filled with quiet light. Stars scattered across darkness like soft fire. She rested, but her mind remained awake. She knew Part 4 would be the moment of confrontation, not with Earth, but with those who still feared it. Far above, tension grew within the Academy. Whispers turned harder. Concern met curiosity. "She has exceeded safe limits," Daniel said. "We should recall her." Hale's eyes never left the screen. "And bring her back before she teaches us something." No one responded. Lena slept under a silent sky, unaware that change was beginning far beyond the clouds. She dreamed not of fear, but of open land, endless air, and the quiet strength of a world that refused to be misunderstood. When morning came, she rose once more, ready to walk further into a truth others dared not face. And Earth welcomed her, not as an enemy, but as a student willing to learn. The fourth day on Earth began with a quiet stillness that felt almost sacred. The air was cool and clear, and a soft light touched the ground where Lena stood. She had reached a point where the land no longer felt foreign. Every movement now carried confidence shaped by understanding instead of fear. She walked along the edge of a low ridge, moving toward the distant line of trees where the forest thickened. Her steps were slow and careful, not because she was afraid, but because she respected the place beneath her feet. The earth had spoken to her, and she had learned how to listen. As she moved deeper into the terrain, her console blinked softly. A signal request appeared. The Academy was trying to open direct contact. She paused, but did not respond immediately. Above, in the cold halls of command, tension filled the air. Data screens showed her steady path, her vital signs calm and stable. "Activate communication channel," Hale ordered. A line opened. Static cleared. Lena's image appeared, framed by wild green and open sky. "Cadet Brooks," Hale said, his voice controlled but edged with urgency. "You have exceeded your observation limits. Prepare for retrieval." Lena looked toward the horizon before answering. "I am not finished," she said simply. "This is not a request," he replied. "Earth has not harmed me," she continued. "It has only shown me how wrong our methods are." Silence filled the chamber. Leaned forward. "Report your current condition." "Stable alert, learning," Lena replied. Hale's expression hardened. "You will return now." She met his gaze through the screen, calm and unshaken. "If you pull me back now, you will return with fear. If you let me stay, you will return with truth." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Hale ended the channel. On Earth, Lena resumed walking, knowing that every step now carried more risk, but also more meaning. She moved through tall grass that brushed against her knees, into shaded soil cooled by tree cover. The forest air smelled rich and alive. Her sensors picked up movement nearby, a distant rustle, a faint snap of twig. She slowed but did not stop. She remembered her earlier encounter and kept her presence calm. A large animal appeared between the trees, watching her from a safe distance. Its gaze was alert, curious, and cautious. It did not rush her. It did not challenge her. It simply observed. Lena lowered her head slightly in quiet acknowledgement. After several minutes, the creature turned and faded into shadow. She exhaled slowly. This world did not seek destruction. It sought balance. Hours later, she reached a clearing where the land rose into another broken field of ancient structures. Here, human history whispered louder. Cracked roads led nowhere. Collapsed frames leaned against time. Signs of a lost world resting in gentle decay. She walked among them with silent care. Then she found them. 3 scattered remains of fallen cadets, long gone, now claimed by time and soil. Torn suits, faded markings, empty shells where life once existed. Lena knelt beside the nearest one. The ground around it was peaceful. Plants had grown through cracks in broken armor. Moss layered the edges softly. She felt a deep quiet settle inside her, not despair, not anger, understanding. "You were not weak," she whispered. "You were never taught to see." She stood again and looked toward the sky. The Academy ship hovered faintly above the clouds, distant and watchful. She activated her console and began recording. She spoke calmly, clearly, allowing her words to flow with honesty. "Earth is not a death world. It is a world that refuses blind control. It breaks those who treat life like code. It teaches those who learn to adapt. The ground teaches balance. The air teaches timing. The silence teaches awareness." She paused, letting the feed continue. "Those who died here were not defeated by nature, but by strict obedience. They waited for commands instead of trusting their senses. They feared when they should have observed. They froze when they should have moved." The message streamed across the Academy halls. Cadets gathered in silence, watching her speak. "If humanity survived here for thousands of years," she continued, "then this world is not our enemy. It is our mirror." Her transmission ended. Inside the command chamber, a heavy silence followed. "She is rewriting doctrine," Daniel muttered. Hale said nothing. On Earth, Lena returned to her ship by late evening, her movements slow but steady. The familiar shape stood where she had left it, untouched, silent. She climbed inside and sealed the hatch. For the first time since landing, the weight of what she had done settled fully upon her. She had lived, she had learned, she had spoken truth where others hid behind fear. A soft signal tone followed. The command channel opened again. "Cadet Brooks," Hale said. This time his voice carried no sharp edge. "Prepare for extraction." "Acknowledged," she replied quietly. Above the clouds, retrieval beams descended. The ship lifted slowly from Earth's surface. leaving behind nothing but faint impressions that the wind soon erased. Lena watched the planet shrink beneath her. Oceans gleamed, clouds rolled gently, green faded into silent blue. Her heart felt heavy leaving it. When the vessel docked back at the academy, a small crowd had gathered. None spoke as the ramp lowered and she stepped down. She looked thinner, tired, changed, but alive. Rushed forward first, eyes wide. "You did it," she whispered. Stared in quiet disbelief. "You really came back." Lena nodded. Earth was never the danger. Hale approached slowly. His posture was no longer fully rigid. "Report," he said. She met his eyes. "The report was already given. You simply have to choose if you will accept it." He studied her for several seconds. Then slowly he inclined his head. A silent gesture of respect. Throughout the following cycles, Academy records changed. Training patterns adjusted. New rules were written. Cadets entered Earth simulations with fewer automated controls and more direct sensory training. The phrase "no one survives on Earth" slowly faded from whispered fear to forgotten myth. Lena was not celebrated as a hero. She did not seek praise. She returned to quiet study, but her presence had shifted something deep within the system. Later one evening, she stood at a high observation window, watching distant stars pulse softly in the dark. Stepped beside her. "Do you miss it?" she asked. Lena nodded gently. "It was never trying to kill me. It was teaching me how to live." And far below, on a blue world of soil and breath, the wind moved through grass, the rivers carved their paths, and the planet remained silent, patient, and strong. A world that had been feared for generations, now understood by one who chose to listen instead of obey. And in the quiet halls of the academy, a new truth took root. Not all dangers are enemies. Some are lessons waiting to be seen.